And today I want to talk about the concept of synchronicity. You may be familiar with it. You may never heard of it. If you haven't heard of it, you should look it up. It's really quite fascinating. I it's something that's been in humanity's consciousness for a long time. But C.G. Jung, kind of brought it into the forefront about 100 years ago, I guess. In a nutshell, it's kind of like weird coincidences that are unrelated yet tied together somehow. And I think Jung uses the uh, simile of fish. Like he had a patient that talked about fish, and then when he it just goes something like that. And then when he went home, he had fish for supper, and so he wondered if there's more to this. And I believe there is more to this. Not all the time. Human beings are pattern finding creatures. It's what we do. We find patterns. But I think there's something more going on with synchronicities. There are messages in the universe, in life, that sometimes try to get to us in other ways than just written text or written word. There are things that we don't quite grasp, but sometimes we can get a feeling for them. It's all part of this beautiful mystery that we're all involved in. And which reminds me, I wanted to say, I've been thinking a lot lately about the sacredness of life and how we've lost that. I contemplate today, because sacred is the right word for it. It has deep religious connotations, but it also says what it is. Contemplate how sacred your life is and my life, and how this beautiful mystery we're all involved in. It's sacred. So consider that. But back on the topic of synchronicity. And one just happened to me today, so I thought I'd talk about it a little bit. I've been planning now for 8 or 10 weeks. I've got this thing in my head that I want to travel, the pilgrimage in Spain, the Santiago de Compostela, it's called. And I'm going to take the French way. And my plan is to do it, and I'll leave in May. I'm going to fly into Rome, see the Vatican. I really want to see the Sistine Chapel. I'm going to see a few more things in Rome and in Italy, and then a couple of things in France. On my way to beginning the pilgrimage in the southwest of France in a place called Jean-Pierre-des-Ports. That's a typical a very popular starting place for the 500-mile pilgrimage right across Spain to the Atlantic Ocean, to the west, where it is believed the remains of St. James are buried in a church, cathedral. Well, anyway, it's been a big thing for me. I contemplate it every day. I've made plans. I have timelines. I've done a lot of stuff. I've gathered together a few things I do have in terms of what I'm going to need for the trip, and I'm doing my research. Well, it's interesting for me, and let me get to synchronicity in a sec, but, and it is interesting for me because my life has radically changed over the past couple of years, I guess you could say. I've fallen into poverty, and just to be blunt and honest about it, I've had a very difficult couple of years, and now my living and my income are well below the poverty line here in America. So I'm living a very simple life, and the reason why I say that is that I keep thinking to myself, geez, how can I make something like this happen? I have virtually no resources, and I think, I got this big thing that I want to, fly to Rome and make my way across France and go on a pilgrimage to Santiago de Compostela, to Santiago. But today, and I may have, if you're following my either podcast or videos, that I'm saved some of my books. I had a library of a couple of thousand books, and for the most part they're gone. But I saved, I guess, I'm not sure how many, about 50 of them, and I'm trying to get through those and read them again. And one of them is Pillars of the Earth. hadn't read it in a long, long time. I forgot all about everything, just about everything in the book, but I'm rereading that and it's 1,000 pages. But I just come to, and I'm about 700 pages in now, so I'll be finishing that up in the next couple of days. But I just come to a part, how do I describe this, where a young man, through the disappointments in his life, but because his father was something called a jongler, which is kind of like a wandering minstrel that tells stories, and he walked the Santiago de Compostela in Spain. So this young man decides that's what he's going to do. He's going to go, and it caught me by surprise. I didn't expect this. It was totally unexpected in the book, because the book takes place in Great Britain. But then he adventures off, and now a young woman who's in love with him at this point now in the book, she is chasing after him. So she boards a ship to go to France to start her pilgrimage on the Santiago de Compostela. So right now I'm right involved in that, and I think to myself, is this an incident of synchronicity for me in my life, where I've been, daily contemplating the pilgrimage that I want to do for various reasons, including to honor my mother who passed away a few months ago, and to honor my son who passed away many years ago. And also that at my age I'm entering a new stage in my life. So there's, and spiritually I'm a deeply devoted Catholic. So it's also, that's a big part of it too, and it just struck me so hard that, I'm reading this book, I'm enjoying it, and it all takes place in, I think the 12th century. And the characters are setting off now, and I am literally on the Santiago, the Camino, the Santiago de Compostela, with one of the characters now in the book. I just couldn't believe it. So, just a coincidence, or is there something more going on here? I'm sure synchronicity sometimes is just a coincidence, because we're pattern-seeking machines, like I said, but I think sometimes there's something more to it. So this has heartened me, lifted my heart a little bit to say, I have no idea how I'm going to make this happen for real. Being destitute, but they have a saying on the Camino, in that the Camino, the walk, the Camino provides, or the Camino will provide. If you're a pilgrim on the pilgrimage, the Camino will look after you. So I want to expand it out further and say, this pilgrimage that I'm on in my life, the Camino will look after me. God will look after me. And if it's so deemed that I will do this walk, then a way will be made for me to experience this in my life. And I offer it up to God. I really do want to do this walk, and I really want to see the Vatican. The Sistine Chapel, is, I would say, the single greatest work of art done by one hand. It took Michelangelo, I think 4 years, or was it 7 years, to complete it on his back, painting that ceiling. It just struck me, synchronicity. So that synchronicity for me happened today. I thought you'd like to hear about it and think about synchronicity in your life, right? Maybe now that I've raised your awareness, you're going to start to see some synchronicities. Maybe they're just coincidences, and maybe they're not.